Crash by Jerry Spinelli, chapters 39 through 42, read for you by Mrs. Shoemaker. Chapter 39, March 22nd. Something happened in English today. A couple of weeks ago we got an assignment. Write an essay about someone you know. Tell what that person means to you. I wrote about Scooter. Not about the stroke and the rehab and all, just the good stuff. I told about his great cooking and the stories in bed and how he came to all my games even in the rain. The papers were due today. When I got to class, Webb was already there wearing his old peace button. DeLuca was there. I took my seat. Webb got up to talk to the teacher. As soon as that happened, Mike went to Webb's desk and snatched some stapled sheets of paper from it. Probably Webb's essay, I figured. On the way back to his desk, he crumpled it into a ball. When Webb got back, he saw right away what happened. He started looking around frantically for his essay. Under his desk, in his books. Kids were giggling. Suddenly, while Webb's back was to him, Mike turned and whipped the paper ball to me. I never didn't catch a ball that was thrown to me in my life. I caught it. The bell rang, everybody settled down, and the class started. The teacher didn't ask for the essays right away, and as the period went on, I got more and more curious about Webb's paper. Finally, as quiet as I could, I uncrumpled it. I flattened it against my desktop, shielded it with my book, and read. One of the most important people to me is my great-grandfather Henry Wildhide Webb III. I feel very fortunate and blessed to have a great-grandfather, but he is more than that to me. He is 93 years old. It's hard to believe that someone who is 80 years older than I can understand how I feel, but he can. He's my best friend. Henry Wilhide Webb III gave me my first name. In the year 1919, he ran for his college track team in the famous Penn Relays. Shortly after that, he traveled west to the state of North Dakota, and he settled there and raised a family. But he never forgot the day at the Penn Relays. When I was born, my mother told him that he could name his first grandson. He named him Penn. That's me. We moved to Pennsylvania 7 years ago. I have only seen him once since then. I miss him very much. Most of all, I miss the stories that he used to tell me about the old days. Sometimes he makes me sad when he says that he feels himself disappearing, like the prairie. My great-grandfather's coming to visit us for 2 weeks in April. He's coming then because that is when the Penn Relays take place. He says he wants to see them one last time. I do not believe he knows that middle schools and even grade schools now compete in the relays. I believe that the best gift I can give my great-grandfather would be for him to see me run in the Penn Relays. That is why I have been practicing my running every night. The teacher called for papers. I passed mine in. The bell rang. Everybody packed up. Webb took a last look around his desk, and while everybody else headed for the door, he headed for the teacher. I intercepted him. I stuck the essay in his hand. Found it, he said. It's wrinkled, but it's okay. He was gaping at me like a hooked fish as I walked out the door. Track sign-ups are tomorrow. Chapter 40, April 2nd. I was in the kitchen this morning checking out the fridge when I heard screaming outside. No! Go away! Scram! I opened the back door. Abby was in the yard holding the garden shovel like a baseball bat. In front of her was the chem lawn man in his white jumpsuit holding the end of the hose that snaked back to the can-shaped truck parked at the curb. He tried to reason with her. He told her that it was important to spray the ground now so that all the evil weeds wouldn't have a chance to get started. But all Abby did was snarl. Plant murderer! Go spray that stuff on the hair growing out of your nose! The guy wasn't stupid. He didn't move. He knew if he did, he'd get a shovel across the kneecaps. He looked at me, but he saw I was laughing too hard to be any help. So he backed off, reeled in the hose, and drove away. Tonight my father paid Abby a little visit in her room. I heard him ask her what did she think she was doing. Daddy, she said. He was killing the weeds. This may come as a shock, he said, but that happens to be the whole idea. It's a bad idea, she said. We have to have them, or we can't be an official wildlife habitat. Last time I checked, this was a home, not a habitat. Daddy, Daddy, lecture coming. You were brought up all wrong. It's not your fault. Weeds aren't bad, Daddy. Weeds aren't even weeds. They're plants and flowers, just like daffodils and all. They have a right to live, too. How would you like it if a truck came to spray poison on you just because somebody decided to call you a weed? Next thing I heard was my father going back downstairs. Chapter 41, April 12th. Most big kids are slow. Most fast kids are little. That's where I'm different. I'm big and fast. In sports, I most like to beat people by plowing them under, like football. And next year, I'm going out for wrestling. But in the spring, there aren't any contact sports, just baseball and track and field. So I use my speed in track. Even though it doesn't look it, track is kind of like football. Sure, there's no ball and no shoulder pads and nothing in your way except the string across the finish line, but you can demolish a kid just as much by beating him in a race as by plowing him under on the football field. It's about the first thing you do when you're little kids. You race. And the kid that wins, bam! Right away he's the fastest. He's the best. Walk into any neighborhood anywhere in the world and ask some kids who's the fastest one there, and right away they'll tell you. They'll point to him. It's something everybody knows. It's a title that goes with you on your street, your school, your town. Fastest kid. That's me. We had a race-offs today. The top 3 will run the 100-meter dash in our first track meet. I won. I beat the 6th and 7th and 8th graders. The coach says he's surprised at how fast I am for being so big. He was also surprised at who came in second. Webb. He said he can't remember the 2 fastest runners ever before, both being 7th graders. I wasn't real surprised at Webb. I still remember that time we raced at the mailbox and back, and how close he was behind me. In the race-off today, he got a great start. He was out ahead of everybody. I guess he's been practicing his starts too, but you don't beat Crasher the Dasher with a great start. I caught him at the 50-meter mark, and the rest was history. You can hardly see Mouse House anymore. It's deep in the bushes. There are leaves piled up around it, and the windows have pink flaps over them, cut out from an old wash rag. But there's still no one living there. The Camelon guy hasn't come back. Chapter 42, April 15th. Jane Forbes came up to me after lunch today. She was so mad. She stuck a scrap of paper in my face. "Did you write this?" "Huh?" I said. I took the paper. The words were in big black letters, all capitals. "If you ever want to see your turtle alive again, be sure you eat meat in the cafeteria Monday. I will be watching." "Where'd you get this?" I said. "Pen gave it to me. Did you?" I gave the scrap back. "No, and don't go accusing somebody unless you got proof." I walked away. A little while later, we had our first track meet against Donner. In the 100 meters, Webb was out fast again, and again I passed him halfway. Me first, him second. I didn't even wait until the meet was over. I didn't take a shower. I got dressed and ran all the way to Mike's house. His mother let me in. She said he was in his room. I went up. I didn't knock. I barged in. He looked up from his 18-inch TV. "Where is it?" I said. "Where's what?" he said, like I was loony. It wasn't out in the open. I looked under his bed. "Hey, man!" he squawked. "Only junk under the bed." I went to the closet, checked the shelves, checked the floor. There it was, in a computer paper box. I took out the box. I lifted the turtle and turned it over. There was the name Thomas carved into the bottom shell. "You didn't even have food for it?" I said. "It was a joke," he said. "I would have gave it back." "I'll save you the trouble," I said. He stepped in front of the doorway. "How come all of a sudden you're nosing up the web?" "Move," I said. He stayed put. "He feeding you oat burgers or something?" I didn't answer. He thumped me on the chest. "Huh?" Thumped me again, harder. "Huh?" I stood still as a rock. I knew what he was doing. He wanted me to thump him back like I always did. Locker room buddy bulls. He thumped me again. "Huh?" I thumped him back, only it wasn't what he expected. The heel of my hand hit him square in the chest and sent him butt first down the hallway floor. He ended up against the bathroom door with his Christmas sneakers pointing at the ceiling. He forward rolled to his feet, fists up, nose flaring, but he didn't come any closer. For a long time, we just glared at each other. Then his fists went down, his shoulders drooped, and his voice whined. "What's the matter with you?" "Figure it out," I said. I went downstairs and out of the house. I took the box with the turtle to Webb's. I left it on the back steps. I knocked on the door and ran. My father went to mow the grass, but the spark plugs were gone from the mower.